Hello, it's Darren Moor again from the How to Survive Your Police Career website, providing as always health, welfare and relationship advice for officers and frontline staff, and all of it as practical as possible. Today's podcast is a little gift for all you sergeants and inspectors out there, but especially sergeants, because it's got to be the toughest gig in the service, isn't it? But then as a retired skipper, I probably would say that, wouldn't I? In the book, How to Survive Your Early Years as a Police Officer, we talk a lot about skippers and how to get on with them. In it, I tell the newbies just how awful your life can be. Spinning those plates, keeping the show on the road against all the odds, and how they, as the new probationer, can avoid trouble with you. But then there's also other advice about keeping on the right side of the inspector, and also how to avoid winding up the custody sergeant, that other stressed up tinderbox on any nick. And so it occurs to me that having given away so many supervisory secrets to your team that they can run rings around you, I really ought to offer you something back in the form of our little friend, Sad Ted, which is what we're going to discuss in this podcast. So what is Sad Ted? Well, it's a, dare I use the expression, management tool for looking after the troops and dealing with them when they mess up. And you know, I'd love to say I came up with the mnemonic myself, but to be honest, I shamelessly stole it from a dinghy instructor course I did back in the summer, where they used it to develop student sailors. And I thought, hey, why didn't I get taught this on my baby sergeant's course? It's brilliant. But what does it stand for? Well, let's crack on with the first bit, SAD. So imagine for a moment that it's the usual manic shift. Everything's going haywire. You've got a squillion things to be getting on with, of course. The control room's moaning about some cab that's been on the box for 3 days. Half the team's covering scenes and constants. Oh, and one of your frequent callers has rung in to say that they feel suicidal again. But just to make things more exciting, they won't say where they are. Well, thanks for that. But in the middle of all this mayhem and grief, I'm going to suggest to you that you take a moment to do what we're going to call a SAD review. And it begins with S. Are the team as safe as I can practically make them at this moment? The first duty of any supervisor. And can I account for everybody? Do I actually know where they all are? A, are they achieving what I want them to achieve at this moment? And D, more long term than short, is the team developing as I want them to develop? But of course things aren't always going to be brilliant because bobbies mess up, which means that we need to have one of those management chats with them to put them back on the straight and narrow. And that's where you might want to take Ted along to the meeting. So, get the bobby into the office, with or without coffee, sit them down and then roll out your cuddly teddy, starting with T. Just so I'm clear, tell me what the situation was that you got sent to. They tell you. E, okay, and explain to me what you did. They explain their part in this debacle. D, okay, well things haven't worked out quite how we wanted them, so describe how you would do things differently if you were faced with this situation again. They tell you all about it, probably looking a bit sheepish. So to recap, SAD is S, are all members of the team safe and accounted for? A, are they achieving what I want them to achieve? D, more long term, are they developing as I want them to develop? And TED is T, tell me about the situation. E, explain your mess up which brings you into the office today. And D, describe how you would do things differently if faced with this situation again. Really simple, isn't it? It allows them to describe their own mistakes through a process almost of self-analysis, as opposed to you prizing it out of them. It cuts out all that defensiveness. And the name Ted just cheers you up, doesn't it? It makes you smile when you think about, I don't know, Paddington having tea with the Queen. Or more likely, I suppose, that foul-mouthed bear in the Steph MacFarlane film. Brilliant. But either way, it makes you smile, which is just what some skipper needs when it's all going wrong. Although I talk about SAD Ted as a management tool for skippers and inspectors, you can also get your tutors using it. It could work really well when they're tutoring probationers, but it's yours. Deploy it as you see fit. A lovely gift from those wonderful sailing instructors at the Royal Yachting Association. And when you've got probationers, get them to take a look at our book, How to Survive Your Early Years in the Police Service. There's a short video on the website where I describe the contents. I'll be the one looking uncomfortable in front of the camera. Basically, it's a boiling down of all the policey stuff they need to know in the real world if they want to make their lives easier. Oh, and your life as their supervisor easier as well, because, as you know, we tend to see the same mistakes made so often that it gets boring after a while, doesn't it? Especially when it's always you that has to do the cleaning up afterwards. The website's full of podcasts and articles about police health, relationships and welfare, and also has details on our other Police How to Survive books. Yeah, sorry, this is the blatant sales bit, I'm afraid. But then I do have kids' student loans to pay off. So, what have we got to entice you with? Well, we've got the How to Survive Your Relationship with a Police Officer book, which you really want to buy your partner as it explains to them just what you're going through at work. Why is it you're always late home? The stress, the grief, and the rest of it, but comes up with some practical solutions to keep your relationship on track. What was that old saying? Join the force and get a divorce. And we've also got the main health book, How to Survive Your Police Career, for more seasoned officers, maybe like yourselves, full of all kinds of medical and health information for the bobby, like how to sleep around shifts, and what you should be eating on those different shifts to keep yourself going, exercise and injury prevention, mental health, trauma, bad dreams, ethnic and female health, and even a chapter called I Thought I Felt Run Down Because of the Shifts, which describes a lot of conditions where fatigue is a symptom, but bobbies might not pick up on it because they're always knackered anyway through working shifts, and so allow that condition to get a proper hold of them without them realising. So check out the books. They're full of great information that we try to keep as police orientated and humorous as possible. If you want to know more, well, there's some other scary videos of me on the website where I describe them at length. If nothing else, check them out just for the comedy value. You may find my wide-eyed expression as I gurn my way through the script quite funny. Personally, I'm a bit scared to watch the videos these days. And there's individual podcasts as well on the website for each of the books. And don't forget, I always say this, we're keen to work with any police services or federations, local or national, or police commissioners, or any other organisations out there that want to collaborate with us on creating an app or other materials for getting the information from our books out to officers and staff. Perhaps you'd like the books downloaded to your troops' work phones so that they can access the information whenever they want. All these things are possible, so just get in touch. We've done the research and come up with the practical answers, but more importantly, we present it in a way that the average bobby is going to read it, because that's always been the test when writing these books. Is some knackered bobby working earlys, lates and nights going to buy into this stuff? Are they going to read it? And the answer's yeah, if we can make it as funny, as interesting, and as relevant to their mayhem-filled lives as possible. And that's what we do. The information's just waiting to be tapped into, and some of it, like the stuff on cancers and other dangerous diseases, could quite literally save lives if we can get it out there. I'm sorry if that sounds a little dramatic, but, well, have a look at the relevant chapters and you'll understand why. But anyhow, I feel I've taken up too much of your valuable time already. So, until next time, don't forget Sad Ted. In fact, if any of you want to come up with a Angry Ted mnemonic, send your suggestions into the website. That could be funny. But anyhow, from How to Survive Your Police Career, stay safe and be lucky. Bye bye.